Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 376. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the JP8 Report today. I hope everything's going well. It has been pouring down rain all morning here in Coppers Cove. And we expect that here in Cove. In April and May, we get lots of rain. So I think we're closing in on 10 inches already for the year, which is great. Um, but yeah, thank y'all very much for tuning in, and I see everybody's starting to ramp up to come to the podcast. All right, cool. All right, so as we get started, don't forget to click that follow button if you are not already a follower of the JPA Report. And I am like freezing up on my main screen here. There we go. And then click follow to be a follower. Please do so. And then click that like button for the episode today. And then get engaged with the chat, with the live chat. It's open. It's open till the time we close down the show for the day. And I would really appreciate the feedback to help everything's going out. All right. So with that being said, am I forgetting anything? Oh yeah. If you're looking for another podcast to listen to, I do another podcast called Now for the Good News. It's in the show notes, the description of the podcast. I put that out at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning. I record it and then publish it out. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been going through a chapter in the Bible every single day. I'm almost through Psalms, but I went through the New Testament first and went back to Genesis, and I've been working my way through it. Okay, but if that's something you want to listen to, also chat, like, and follow, like, and chat. All right, so let's get this started. Instead of starting out with America 250, I'm gonna just give you an overview of what happened here in Texas in 1836. The Battle of San Jacinto. This is the battle that Texas fought and won our independence at. And that happened 190 years ago today. All right. In present day LaPorte and Deer Park, Texas, near the future city of Houston, around 800 or 900 Texan forces led by General Sam Houston launched a surprise afternoon attack against a larger Mexican army of about 1,200 to 1,500 men under General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. The Texans advanced silently across open prairie using terrain for cover and struck around 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. while many Mexican troops were resting. Some accounts mention a siesta after exhausting marches. The battle cry was "Remember the Alamo, remember Goliad," referencing earlier Mexican victories that had galvanized Texan resolve. The fighting lasted only 18 minutes. The Texans routed the Mexicans in a one-sided victory. The Texans lost 9 men and 20 to 30 wounded, and the Mexicans lost 630 killed, 208 wounded, and 700 captured, including the next day Santa Anna, who was dressed as a private, and we didn't know about it until one of the other privates said El Presidente, and that's when they knew they had captured Santa Ana. All right, so that happened 190 years ago. Congratulations to the state of, well, back then it was the Republic of Texas. And for us to remember, we have the San Jacinto Monument. The San Jacinto Monument looks just like the Washington Monument, but ours is taller and we have a lone star at the top. Okay, and that's the only difference. All right, thank you very much for letting me tell you about that. The next is a pamphlet that I printed off. It was in April 1776, and it was written by John Adams. Okay, and I'm going to go over this for the next few days for the America 250. If I don't have to keep sneezing, man, what's up with that? All right, so, alrighty, man, where is everybody today? All right, so that's all right. We'll make do. All right, Thoughts on Government is the name of it. If I was equal to the task of performing a plan for the government of a colony, I should be flattered with your request and very happy to comply with it, because as the divine science of politics is a science of social happiness, and the blessings of society depend entirely on the constitutions of government, which are generally institutions that last for many generations, there can be no employment more agreeable to a benevolent mind than a research after the best. Nothing, under the little poem in there, it says, Pope flattered tyrants too much when he said, for forms of government let fools contest, that which is the best administered is best. And okay, and to continue on, nothing can be more fallacious than this, but poets read history to collect flowers, not fruits. They attend fanciful images, not the effects of social institutions. Nothing is more certain from the history of nations and the nature of man than that some forms of government are better fitted for being well administered than others. We ought to consider that what is the end of government before we determine which is the best form. Upon this point, all speculative politicians will agree that the happiness of society is the end of government, as all divines and moral philosophers will agree that the happiness of an individual is the end of man. From the principle it will follow, and a form of government which communicates ease, comfort, security, or in one word, happiness to the greatest number of persons in the greatest degree is the best. All sober inquiries after truth, ancient and modern, pagan and Christian, have declared that the happiness of man, as well as the dignity, consists in virtue. Confucius, Zoroaster, Socrates, Monet, not to mention authorities really sacred, were agreed in this. If there is a form of government, then whose principle and foundation is virtue? Will not every sober man acknowledge it, better calculated to promote the general happiness than any other form? Fear is the foundation of most governments, but it is a sordid and brutal a passion, and renders men, in whose breast it predominates, so stupid and miserable that Americans will not be likely to approve any political institution which is founded on it. Man, that sounds so much like today. Honor is truly sacred, but holds a lower rank in the scale of moral excellence than virtue. Indeed, the former is but a part of the latter, and consequently not as equal pretensions to support a frame of government productive of human happiness. The foundation of every government is some principle or passion in the minds of the people, the noblest principles and the most generous affections in our nature when have the fairest chance to support the noblest and most generous models of government. A man must be indifferent to the sneers of modern Englishmen, to mention in their best company the names of Sidney, Harrington, Locke, Milton, Needham, Neville, Burnet, and Hoadley. No small fortitude is necessary to confess that one has read them, and the wretched condition of this country, however, for 10 or 15 years past, has frequently reminded me of the principles and reasonings. They will convince any candid mind that there is no good government but that what is republican, that the only valuable part of the British Constitution is so, because the very definition of a republic is an empire of laws and not of men, that as a republic is the best form of government, so that particular arrangements of the bodies of the society, or in other words, that form of government that which is best contrived to secure an impartial and exact execution of the laws is the best of republics. Of republics, there is an inexhaustible variety because the possible combinations of the powers of society are capable of innumerable variations. As good government is an empire of laws, how shall your laws be made? In a large society inhabiting an extensive country, it is impossible that the whole should assemble to make laws. The first necessary step then is to depute power from the many to a few, to the most wise and good. But by what rules shall you choose your representatives? Agree upon the number and qualifications of persons who shall have the benefit of choosing or annex this privilege to the inhabitants and of a certain extent of ground. The principal difficulties lie in the great care should be employed in constituting this representative assembly. It should be in miniature an exact portrait of the people at large. It should think, feel, reason, and act like them, and it may be in the interest of this assembly to do strict justice at all times. It should be an equal representation, or in other words, equal interest among the people should have an equal interest in it. Great care should be taken to effect this, and to prevent unfair, partial, and corrupt elections. Such regulations, however, may be better made in times of greater tranquility than the present, and will spring up themselves naturally when all the powers of government come to be in the hands of the people's friends. At present, it will be the safest to proceed in all established modes to which the people have been familiarized by habit. Okay, so that's the first 2 pages of The Thoughts of Government by John Adams, and I will continue tomorrow on this also. All right? I'll put that down right there. All righty, cool. So I got something good for y'all, and it's a new sponsor for the show. I mean, as sponsor, as I'm showcasing them, they're not giving me no money. I'm doing this because they're good friends of mine, all right? So stand by. Here we go. The Armament Shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the Armament Shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed up by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL's transfers fast, easy, and affordable. We do CHL classes, concealed handgun licensing classes. Visit the armament shop today at 115 West Avenue D in Coppers Cove or call at 254-560-2023. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. And then you'll see on the card there how to get a hold of Jason Stevens at www.armamentshop.com. All righty. That was awesome. They're good friends of mine. He's getting married this weekend, so he won't be available this weekend if you decide to give him a phone call, okay? Just so you know. All right. So, as we march forward, and thank y'all very much for tuning in so far today. The Iran update. Operation Epic Fury, day 14 of the ceasefire. Talks in Islamabad are scheduled for either Wednesday or Thursday. There's a caveat on that because the vice president and Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are all supposed to leave today for Pakistan, but the vice president just got called back to the White House for consultations. Iran says it has new weapons, or as they call cards. All right, their house is built on a deck of cards. You take the little one away from the bottom, all the cards fall down. I hope they understand that. Iran and Syria have reopened their border between each other, and it presents an alternate route to take oil away from the Middle East and get it to Europe. Iran's bridge, a big bridge that got blown apart a couple of weeks ago, it's going to cost $23 million to get fixed. The IDF struck an imminent threat in Lebanon this morning, besides having a ceasefire with Lebanon, and they said it should not affect the talks. Maybe Lebanon knew about it. I don't know. In terms of our military, the A-10, they just extended the lifespan of the A-10 Warthog to 2030. I said this morning, maybe they just need to build another set of bare bones A-10s called the A-10 Zulu or something like that. And instead of building $400 and $500 million copies of airplanes, let's build some low-cost, very effective, close air support aircraft that can support us soldiers and Marines on the ground and make sure they stay protected. That'd be great. All right. And then Russia detained 40 Israelis yesterday with links to opposition groups in Iran. So hopefully they get released pretty soon. And then on the economic front, Brent crude oil right now is trading at $98.64. That's up $3 from this morning. And then West Texas Intermediate is trading at $90.28 a barrel. That's up $3.50 from this morning. And the stock market is at 49,315.28. That's down 127.31 points from this morning. All right. So that is the Iran update. All right. So what do we got going on? We're going to cover some real quick about Iran, and then we're going to go into Virginia. All right. So in Iran, the reports reportedly coming out right now from Iran is that hold on just a second. Okay, there we go. I just put out a chat because I got someone watching on YouTube, so I just want to say hello. All right. Says Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, the elite branch of the Iranian armed forces, has blocked um, President Masoud Brzezinski presidential appointments and erected what sources described as a security cordon around the supreme leader Mojtaba Khomeini, a report published Tuesday by Iran's International. They said the IRGC effectively has assumed control over key state functions, the report claimed. It was always a matter of time, not if, the IRGC was going to step forward even more than it has in the last 3 decades. Behnam bin Talibu, the senior director of Iran program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracy, told Fox News. Pezeshkian has reached a complete political deadlock as tensions between his administration and the military leadership deepen, according to the report. The shift, I got something I want to say about that in just a second. The shift could have major consequences far beyond Iran. Analysts say a more powerful RGC would likely mean a more confrontational Iran, less willing to compromise in talks with Washington and more inclined to continue military escalation across the region. With U.S.-Iran negotiations already faltering and uncertainty growing over whether Tehran will even send negotiators to the excuse me, man. Um, okay, so what this means to me, and I ain't even gone through the whole thing, but what this means to me is that it looks like the ROGC is attempting a political coup inside the country of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. They will support him. I lost my connection just a second ago. Am I back on? Okay, yeah, I'm back on. Okay, good. Um, Yeah, they know the RGC understands the ramifications if they knock down the spiritual leader, because there's 20 to 30 million radicalized Shia in that country that will do everything in their power to support the spiritual leader. So the Ayatollah Khomeini uh, is to be protected, and they can do everything else around him, and he'll be more like a puppet. All right. That's what's going on. Now, the problem with that is, who are we negotiating with? And maybe that's what the vice president and the president are talking about at this time, because that could be serious. Because we're about to send the president, the vice president, and two senior advisors to Pakistan to negotiate with them. But the persons that they're talking with, do they have uh, any authority to discuss anything with the Americans? And that's what we got. Why are we not insisting that members of the IRGC accompany the prime minister and the president, or whoever, the foreign minister of Iran, to Pakistan, so we can discuss this stuff with them also? Maybe that's what's being talked about right now. But that's yeah. It looks like there's a coup in progress inside of Iran, a soft coup, if there's any such thing, right? How'd y'all like how'd y'all like that article I read about the thoughts of government from John Adams? That was really cool. If you like that, give me an American flag. There we go. Did that work? Nope, not yet. Hey, there we go. I put an American flag in the chat. But follow up with that. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's do some stuff here. Let's have some fun. How many people live in Virginia that has not voted no yet? That's the title of the podcast today. So this morning, so like I was saying, you have till 7 p.m. tonight Eastern time to go vote no in Virginia. If you are Republican in Virginia, you need to make your way to the nearest poll and vote no. Your livelihood depends on it. You already seen what Spanberger's already done in her first 90 days in office. If she has her way and redistricts the way they have, and I forgot to put a map of it on here, but the way they're planning to redistrict Virginia, you will have 5 congressional seats within 15 miles of each other in Fairfax, Virginia, the city, and you only have 13. Yeah, you have 13 electoral votes in that, and it's going to go down in the 2030 census anyway. But yeah, you have there's 11 right now. It's 6 Democrat, 5 Republican, and they want to try to make it 10 Democrat, 1 Republican, and you're going to have 1 congressional seat. Do I have the picture in here? Which one is it? Well, so you have like 1 congressional district that's going to go from Fairfax, Virginia, right? If you can see, if I could show this, man, this is a bad example to be showing. Okay, so I got to look on mine. So you see where Fairfax is right there, right? Okay, and then if you follow it, not that way, go back, James, and then go down to here, it ends right smack dab. Oh, I'm talking about the 7th congressional district. It's going to go all the way close to Richmond, Virginia. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, it is what it is. Hopefully, we have a chance this evening to actually overcome this and defeat this attempt by the Democrats to extract a power grab in that state. Okay, so where I'm going at is the next question is mid-decade redistricting even allowed under Virginia's Constitution? And then the answer is not under current rules. Virginia's Constitution, as amended in 2020, established a bipartisan redistricting commission and tied the map drawing to the decennial census, which means every 10 years. The proposed amendment would carve out a narrow exception which allow mid-decade redistricting under specific circumstances. Legal challenge has already been tested the limits of that authority. The lower court initially struck down the amendment earlier this year, but the Supreme Court of Virginia ultimately allowed the referendum to proceed, signaling that voters, not courts, should decide whether to authorize the change. If there are more yes votes than no votes tonight after the polls close, I can bet by 12:01 tomorrow morning, or sometime tomorrow morning, there's going to be a lawsuit filed to what's that word I'm looking, to challenge it. Okay, all right, but we'll see. So the next question: would new congressional maps take effect immediately if voters approve it? And it says yes. Lawmakers have already passed revised district lines. See, they took the authority amongst themselves before they went to the voters. So they misappropriated state funds to be able to do this map drawing, and then they went to the voters. They should have asked for permission first and then drew the maps. All right? Because if they would have done that, the elections would have happened in November, and they could have actually told the people what they were getting. Abigail Spanberger actually told people last fall she was not interested in doing any redistricting at all. Texas, and you can play the little game about Texas. I'll tell you about Texas right now. We passed our bill. We didn't pass the bill. Well, yeah, because it was signed by the governor. We have nothing in our Constitution prevents us from doing any type of redistricting. And we passed ours last summer before even Virginia even started the process of doing this. So they could have got permission, then drew the maps after they received permission from the voters in the state of Virginia. All right? All right. So the maps, do they take effect if voters approve it? Yes, lawmakers have already passed revised district lines contingent on the constitutional change because Republican-led states have already enacted mid-decade redistricting plans. The trigger outlined in the amendment that has effectively been met, meaning the referendum would take Virginia's response as legal retroactively and no further legislative action would be required. Wow. Several Democrats have already launched campaigns in some of the proposed districts, underscoring expectations that the new map would be used for the 2026 midterms, even as legal challenges remain possible, like I just said. All right? What happens if voters reject the amendment? If voters reject the amendment, Virginia will continue using the current redistricting system, and the existing congressional maps will remain in place until the next census cycle. That means no mid-decade redraw before 2030. Opponents of the amendment view this as the outcome as preserving the bipartisan framework approved by voters in 2020. Absolutely correct. Next question. Would the new district lines remain in effect past the 2026 election if the amendment passes? And they said yes. If the voters approve the amendment, the newly adopted congressional districts would remain in place through the end of the decade, including the 2028 elections. The maps are intended to govern Virginia's U.S. House races until the next round following the 2030 census. Now, there's one thing also that they did not put in here. It would include the 2030 election also, because you don't have the census until April of 2030, right? So the new maps should be part of the 2032 congressional election. And if I'm wrong, someone tell me, right? Please do so, because either put it in the comment section, which is always available to anyone, or put it in the live chat so I can know immediately. All right. Let's see. Next question. How would this change Virginia's congressional delegation? I already told you that. It's going to go from a 6-5 to 10-1. If the referendum passes, could the Supreme Court of Virginia still strike it down? It says yes, but that outcome appears unlikely. The Supreme Court of Virginia has already allowed the referendum to move forward, even after a lower court struck it down, signaling reluctance to block the vote. However, legal challenges to the amendment and underlying process remain unresolved and are still before the court. Legal observers say justices could still review those claims after the election, but it is widely seen as unlikely the court would overturn the express will of the voters if the amendment is. If it's illegally done, it shouldn't stand anyway, regardless if people vote for it or not. This is This is the problem we have with our election cycle. So the amount of time from a November election to a certification is like 3 weeks, right? You have to certify your ballots and then send them to the state, and the state sends them to Washington, D.C. And if something goes wrong in the balloting, right, and you want to present a legal challenge to get a recount and stuff, you are like this. What's next, 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 until it finally gets remedied. And by that time, is that you're out of time, sir. This person's going to be the winner. And like you're stuck, like how they cheated or something went wrong, and I should have my due process, but normally you don't, right? Um, okay, so that's that. So I'll put this over here because I won't need that tomorrow. Early voting picks up in Northern Virginia. Well, yeah, but I heard this morning on Vince that it looks like a lot more Republicans are voting than voted in November. So we may have the advantage uh, of the threat of this pertaining to get more people. And I don't understand because when Winston Sears was running for governor, she was very, very well. She would have been a great governor, and I just don't know why people didn't give her the chance. Maybe the well was tainted too much by the disruptive politics in our state, right? Because we see it all the time. But the rate at this point, because early voting is over, they had 39% of Republicans did early voting compared to 37% in the November 2025 election. So 2 percentage points can be a lot. All right. So and then a lot more independent voters picked up ballots also in early voting. So we'll see on that part. What are we doing on time? It's only 12:36. We're doing good. Okay, and I told you all about um, Glenn Youngkin uh, getting on the campaign trail, talking to people, talking about this process is unconstitutional and illegal, which is we know that that's a fact, right? Okay, so the one I wanted to read about is this. Hold on. How are y'all doing? Click that follow button, please. Click that follow button and click the like button. All right. So there's one other recourse that President Trump can do. It's like the Trump card. All right. Okay. So y'all heard me talk about this back maybe 2 months ago, and it was uh, it was a compromise that was made by executive order by a president in, I believe, 1847, I think it was. Let me get my papers right. Um, and I just printed this off. Oh, yeah, I'm right. Um, it was the Compromise of 1847. Yeah. All right. So if you're proud of something, you want people to see it. That's why it's telling the people. That is why it's telling that Virginia Democrats are asking Old Dominion residents to vote on redistricting scheme without allowing the proposed map to be printed on the ballots. But it's no wonder the mid-decade redistricting proposal is an obscene gerrymander that will wipe out all but one GOP-leaning congressional district in the state. And of course, they claim it's all done in the name of democracy. This dishonest power play seeks to make the congressional representation of a purple state that is nearly as blue to nearly as blue as Massachusetts. It disenfranchises nearly half the Commonwealth. Virginia went 51.8 to 46.6 for Kamala Harris in 2024. The proposed districts are extreme, running from heavily populated blue areas into rural red areas. federal government employees of Arlington and Fairfax are essentially dictate the congressional representations of farmers and shopkeepers up to 100 miles away. Local airwaves have been inundated with ads pushing this redistricting scheme as a benevolent attempt to save democracy and free and fair elections. One unambiguous ad features former President Barack Obama carrying on his tradition for honesty that was exemplified in his infamous declaration, "If you like the plan and you can keep your plan, now if it's like your district, you can keep your district." Yeah, that's all about Obamacare, all right? And the hollow promise of going back to Virginia's regular redistricting process in 2030. Materials provided to the grassroots are a bit more transparent than the types of phony appeals to democracy wielded by the former president, governor, and scheming progressives. Yard signs supporting the initiative much more clear about the intent than the initiative, urging voters to fight back against MAGA. Okay, this is where it really gets really good here, okay? It is obvious to anyone paying attention, rather than the effort to restore fairness or level the playing field, the Virginia gerrymander, or gerrymander, is nothing more than an effort to stack the decks in favor of Democrats to weaken President Donald Trump. So what can the president and allies do? Okay, y'all need to listen to this part. Aside from motivating Virginians to oppose the power grab, Trump has another tool he can use to fight back, or borrow from the supporters' phrase. He could fight fire with fire and choose another type of redistricting. Okay, y'all ready for this? In 1790, the Virginia and Maryland gave 5 square miles of land to the federal government to create a district for a new national capital. That was laid out in the Constitution, okay? That Virginia land remained part of the District of Columbia until 1847, when that land was retroceded to the Commonwealth. The shameful reason, okay, for that retrocession was protecting slavery in Virginia when the district abolished it. This became moot after the Union defeated the ancestors of its current effort to rig the elections and resist the elected federal leadership of the Civil War. Other presidents, including William Howard Taft, considered retrocession unconstitutional and wanted to reclaim the land for the district, but the Supreme Court has never weighed in on it. President Trump could issue an executive order declaring the slavery motivated retrocession unconstitutional, triggering certain legal action, and following the courts to finally weigh in on whether the county of Arlington and the city of Alexandria, in fact, properly belonged to the District of Columbia. And this order would be on better legal footing than many other President Joe Biden's most egregious orders, such as imposing an eviction moratorium and forgiving billions in student aid with the stroke of an auto pen, as some of the deepest blue areas of the Commonwealth and the country, and located with federal government employees, residents of this region should feel at part of D.C. Okay, so what does that mean? So the Compromise of 1847, and I know I'm going to run out of time again, all right? But listen to me. The Compromise of 1847 was that the District of Columbia abolished slavery. Virginia had slavery in it. So the boundary of Washington, D.C. is a straight line. On the north side, you have, well, it's on the southwest and the southeast side because DC is like this, okay? Well, it was like this. So on the southwest side of Washington, D.C. and the southeast side of Washington, D.C., there's a straight line there. You have Virginia under because Maryland didn't have slavery, all right? But Virginia did. So the problem is if D.C. abolished slavery, you would have slaves in Virginia. All they have to do is hop across that line and they're free. And there's nothing in Virginia can do about it at all. And it was a serious national discussion going on because Virginia did not want to lose their access to their slaves. And all they had to do was jump over the border, right, into Washington, D.C. So there was a compromise made between the president and 1847. The president was Taylor, I believe, right before Buchanan. No, was it Zachary Taylor? It might have been. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But the president in 1847 gave the south part below the Potomac River back to Virginia to expand slavery up to the Potomac River because that part of Washington, D.C. became Virginia again. Because the reasoning was it was harder for a slave to swim across the Potomac River because there's a natural border than to have someone jump over the line. That's the whole reason of the Compromise of 1847, which is unconstitutional because if you read the Constitution, it dictated the size of the national capital city. So if they were to take that part out, there had to have been a constitutional amendment to amend that. So all the president needs to do is say, we want our land back. What are they going to do about it? Just got out of the VA. Good afternoon, y'all. Good afternoon, Richard. You've missed a whole lot of stuff. I'm talking about the Compromise of 1847. All right. It's about how the U.S. gave land back to Virginia to prevent slaves from escaping into free Washington, D.C. as of 1847 because because D.C. outlawed slavery. And they were afraid their slaves from Virginia would escape into free territory. So the President of the United States gave all that land back to D.C. to prevent slaves from swimming across the Potomac into free D.C. so he would keep them into now Virginia territory, Arlington, Virginia. Okay, if that makes sense. So if the president really wants to really irk a lot of Democrats, he could take a lot of that territory away from the Democrats and make it federal property where they don't have any electoral votes or congressional representation. Well, they'd have delegates, but not representatives. All right? If that makes sense to everybody. If you don't understand what I'm saying, please give me a like and click that follow button or put something in the live chat, okay? All right. So next, the Secretary of, before I get to the former Secretary of Labor, it came out about 10:30 this morning that Secretary Hegseth has discontinued the requirement of mandatory flu shots for all military members. If you know, you know, because like I told a friend of mine, I've received a flu shot ever since I was 17 years old, every single year. They used to like form us up in formation like 5 o'clock in the morning. We won't do PT that morning. We march all of our soldiers down to the dispensary or medical clinic, and everybody got their flu shot before they got ready for the rest of the workday. Yep. Um, where's Rob? I have no idea. Covite for life. I think he has. I think he had an appointment this morning also. All right. All right. So let's finish up this before we run out of time again. Right. All right. So Lori Chavez is. She resigned under. She had some whistleblower investigations going on her. That let's see. What did she do wrong? Okay, so Sonderling is going to be he's going to be the acting Secretary of Labor. Um, Her exit comes after a whistleblower complaint accused the Labor Secretary of an affair with her security guard, drinking on the job, and using staff to fabricate official travel for personal trips at taxpayer expense. Okay, it says, okay, Stephen Chung said something. She did a great job. I recommend her for future employment or whatever. Okay, like when you fire someone at work or lay them off, say, hey, if you use me as a referral, I'll give you a good referral, but I got to let you go. Bye. Okay, that kind of thing. The news of Chavez's exit comes as the Inspector General investigates a slew of complaints against her, such as that she created a hostile work environment, used work trips for personal leisure, engaged in inappropriate relationship with a member of her security team, and that her husband was making unwanted advances toward Labor Department officials. Wow. Wow. Reporting on the complaints indicates Chavez requested staff to perform private errands for her and her husband, like picking up dry cleaning, getting them wine, and cleaning out the secretary's closet while using threats to ensure compliance. Text messages obtained by the Labor Department's Inspector General also repeatedly showed Chavez family members routinely sending personal requests and messages to young staff members. Meanwhile, other complaints have alleged drinking on the job and keeping stashes of liquor around the office, according to the New York Post, which first reported the complaints in January. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve this historic administration. Yeah. You know what you need to do? You need to pay back all the taxpayer money that was wasted with you and your what do you call a guy that's a mistress to a female? I have no idea what you call them, but hey, I know a female to a male is a mistress. Is it a monsieur or something like that? I don't know. She's gone, and she needs to stay gone. Um, okay, there's nothing else good in that one. All right, next. Um, we'll save this one for tomorrow morning because we were running out of time. Let's see. We covered this a little bit this morning about Nancy Mace she's moving to expel Corey Mills from the Congress, and he has a lot of sexual allegations against him. Stolen valor, which Covite for Life told me this morning that stolen valor is, if you're found guilty of that, it's a penalty upwards to 1 year in jail, plus a hefty fine. It's not worth it. So whatever medals you get, it's what you get, and you don't throw a fit, right? Uh, but he claimed he was like special forces, and he was got these medals and all this other stuff, and just stick to the truth, and you'll be just fine. But evidently he didn't, and he's got campaign finance problems. But it got to the point where um, that he's going to be kicked out of Congress, right? Now that's the good part, right? So we kicked the Democrat out last week, Eric Swalwell, fing fing bang bang, right? And then Tony Gonzalez, the Republican from Uvalde, Texas, he resigned, right? So we lost the Democrat, lost the Republican. Okay, now they want to lose another Republican, right? So it's like, oh my goodness, we're going to lose a Republican. We're almost to a 50-50 split in the House of Representatives. We got to do something about this. Well, there's one more person. Let me go to the article I was going to read. Oh, there it is. So there's one other person that's in a whole heap of trouble, and she's about to go to federal prison. January or February is her court date. It's Representative Sheila Sherfulis McCormick from Jacksonville, Florida. Time may be running out of the road as Republicans lay the groundwork for an expulsion vote as soon as today. The House Ethics Committee will hold a hearing Tuesday afternoon, which is time now, to formally recommend punitive action against the embattled lawmaker. Representative Greg Steube from Florida has vowed to force a vote on McCormick or Sophulis, we'll just call her Congresswoman McCormick, expulsion regardless of the committee's suggested sanction. Despite the looming threat, McCormick has resisted calls to quit Congress on her own terms. For those asking whether I plan to resign, the answer is no. McCormick recently told Fox News, "This is not the time to abandon the district. Not when they are too. They too are fighting for our future." A successful expulsion vote would make McCormick the first lawmaker since George Santos back in 2023 to be expelled by the House. Just 6 lawmakers have been expelled in the House in U.S. history. McCormick was found guilty of more than 24 ethics violations involving financial misconduct during a rare House ethics trial in March. She has denied any wrongdoing and is facing separate criminal trial after being indicted by a federal grand jury in 2025. The guilty verdict centered on a charge that McCormick funneled more than $5 million in disaster relief funds to her campaign that was improperly paid to her family's health care company. She did not try to return the money, which amounted more than 100 times what the government owed the family-run company. It takes 2/3 of a vote to expel a member from Congress, meaning Steube's resolution would have to receive buy-in from Democrats. Former Representatives Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez were facing sexual misconduct allegations. Both resigned last week to fend off expulsions, and Corey Mills is also a famous looming expulsion vote. The vast majority of Democrats already voiced support for McCormick's expulsion, so she's done. Though a swath of moderates and progressives broke their silence after the House ethics verdict last week. AOC, Sandy Cortez, right, told reporters last week that she would vote to expel McCormick if she did not resign, citing House Ethics Committee's verdict. However, top Democrats have continued to stand by their indicted colleague, Hakeem Jeffries, the guy that tried to preach at a church this weekend and it was a politically filled sermon in Virginia, right? He didn't know what he's talking about. Said Democrats would convene following the conclusion of the Ethics Committee proceedings to discuss McCormick's fate. We will proceed in a manner that is consistent with our approach to these types of ethics matters. And then it says the Congressional Black Caucus, an influential group among Democrats on Capitol Hill, has been largely silent on the allegations facing McCormick, who is a member of the group. The CBC notably contributed $5,000 to McCormick's campaign during the first fundraising quarter of 2026, which was January through March. And House Speaker Johnson signaled his support for the expulsion. And let's see. McCormick has defied calls to suspend her re-election campaign despite having just $11,000 in the bank. Then you're not going to get reelected with 11 grand. According to recent Federal Election Commission filings, her campaign entered April with $4.4 million in debt, some of which is due to mounting legal fees. The indicted lawmaker, you should not be able to use your campaign funds for legal defense, man. And then McCormick is facing a separate 15-count indictment that could result in her being sentenced to more than 50 years in prison if convicted, in addition to allegedly stealing FEMA money. Federal prosecutors have also charged her with participating in a straw donor campaign to conceal illicit money flowing to her campaign and conspiring to file a false tax return. So when did she first get elected to Congress? I believe she got elected in 2020 or 2022. I don't see it. Oh, man. Okay, so she may be going through the same thing as Marjorie Taylor Greene did. She wanted to make sure she crossed the 5-year mark to be able to get paid for the rest of her life. All right? So, oh my goodness, man. All right, so what are we looking at? It's 1:02. Do I have time to do anything else? We'll do this tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. You know what? Let's just cap this off today. Okay, so tomorrow, what's going on tomorrow? I have a VA appointment at 9 a.m. Okay, that's 9 a.m. Central. I will do the JP's morning brief at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Let me go back here. JP's morning brief tomorrow morning at 6:30 to 7, and then from there I'm going to leave and go to the VA for my appointment, and then come back and do the JP8 report at noon. All right. So the reason why I'm doing that, because this ballot measure today in Virginia, the results are going to be the night, and I am going to talk about that tomorrow, and try to go over some more of this or whatever else is going on, because we know a whole heap of stuff is going on in Iran and in Pakistan and in DC and now Virginia and wherever else is going on around here. So we have a whole lot transpiring. We just need to be prepared for it, okay? So be patient with me. I will definitely be talking about this in the morning, okay? If you live in Virginia, go vote. If you're thinking about not going to vote in Virginia, go vote. The Republic I just read that in the thoughts of the of government this morning. The republic depends on it. Okay, we are a republic, a federal republic. Our livelihood, our country, your state depends on it. So if you live in Virginia, you have till 7 p.m. Eastern to go vote. All right? Do the 10, 10, 10. Call 10 people, uh, call 10 people, text 10 people, and take 10 people with you to the polls. Um, Dan Bongino taught me that a long time ago. 10, 10, 10. Text, call, take. All right? Text, call, take. You got time for it? Let's get it done. Let's prevent the Dems from doing this. Let's not wait on the federal courts to take care of this for you, because you never know how they're going to rule. It is your job as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I know I joke around. I call it the Democratic People's Republic of Virginia, but this is real business here. You got to get out there and vote no. Okay. So with that, this is my socials. How you can reach me if you want. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. I'm on ScrewTube. I'm on True Social. And that's my email address, jp8report@gmail.com. All right. So this is James Pierce with the JP8 Report. I will catch you on the flip side. I'm out.